How are you doing with your goals? How's 2022 stacking up as far as you and the goals and the promises you made to yourself about what you were going to do for yourself? What has held you back? Okay. And in answering that question, I want to ask another question is, what would you do? What would you attempt if you knew that you could not fail? If there was no fear of failure? If there was no fear of letdown, what would you attempt? What would you do? Because what I find with most people is that most people want to do better, is that they just don't know how. And the fear of failing, the fear of not being able to complete, the fear of not knowing how paralyzes them. And there's only one thing that conquers fear, and that is action. And that is that action that's going to lead you to your transformation. Okay? And the more you sit on the sideline, the more you sit and think, the more you contemplate, the more fearful you become. Once again, fear paralyzes you. You start thinking about all the things that could go wrong, as opposed to all the things that could go right. Right? And the thing is that a lot of people get so hung up on the fears. And like I said, it's just simply because you don't know what to do. You know, I've worked with some wonderful people this year thus far. Okay? And one of the biggest issues I see with a lot of people when it comes down to trying to make a change is you try to do too much too fast. You overcomplicate things, you overload yourself, you try to get all the results in one day. And that's simply just not how change works. Some people can go ahead and, bite off the entire the entire thing in one day, but very few people can really do that. It has to be systematic. It has to be measurable. You have to set attainable goals. It has to be realistic, but it also has to be consistent. Okay? I set consistent goals for people. Goals that I know that they can attain. Goals that I know that I can hold you to. Goals that I know that you will hold yourself to. Because when the goals are set, I ask people, do you believe you can do that? And what do most people say? Yes, because the goals are attainable. It's little stuff. Can you drink, 8 16-ounce glasses of water a day? Especially when I give you a plan of how to do it. Hey, drink 2 in the morning, first thing when you wake up. And then you just drink 1 every 2 hours after that. Can you do that? Sure, I can do that. Great, that's the plan. Then I come back, have you done that? And anything that you give me is an excuse, and you know it. Because it was what? Systematic. It was smart. It was attainable. And then all you need is someone to hold you accountable. And we set little goals like that. And all of a sudden, the insurmountable becomes the ordinary. It becomes what you do. But you can't get there unless you have a plan. What is your plan for the next half of the year? How are you going to transform 2022 into being the year you said it was going to be in the beginning that you have not followed up on? Is this going to be just like all the other years where you just let it just go by? And then you come back on January 1st of 2023 with the new remix of the same old song that you sang in 2021, 2022, 2020, 2018, 2019, 2017, 2016, 2012. What separates you from that person who made the promises and didn't follow through? There's only one thing. Action. Okay? Action will transform your life. Action will transform your year. And I've seen some great transformations in people. And the only thing that separates them from you, the only thing that separates them from you is intelligent action. You can't be willy-nilly about it. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. I see so many people, you mean well, okay? But there's a reason why you've done this so many times and failed. Simply because you don't know what you're doing. You know, I talked to someone about their health. It was 6 months now after, you know, I worked with them. You know, we had a conversation over the weekend because they actually started on January 1st. And so now they're, you know, about closing off 6 months. And I asked them, was it worth it? And they actually helped me put it in perspective. They said, when they look at the quality of life that they have attained, okay, they looked at the money they saved, not only in eating out, but just in change of lifestyle, reduction of health costs because they were on high blood pressure and diabetic medication and no longer requiring that. When they look at the quality of life, like I said, that they haven't, you know, now experienced, because I believe they're down 67 pounds over there since January 1st. They said the cost is minuscule, even if they were to ferret it out for 10 years. It winds up to being less than $1. And in exchange, they get a higher quality of life, physically, mentally. They're in a better place. They believe in themselves more. And they had tried many different things before. And the only difference is that they just didn't know what they were doing. Once again, if you want to transform your life, if you're serious about transforming your life, you have to have a plan. And then you have to execute that plan. And if you don't have a plan, work with someone who does. It doesn't have to be me, but work with someone who does. Stop spinning your wheels with all these quick fix ideas and, you know, these magic pills and these magic programs. You know, I was watching this commercial the other day. I forget the commercial now. But it was a commercial with a lady who they were basically going over her lifespan, and they said it so flippantly. They said 11 magic diets that she had tried over her lifetime, and now she was apparently looking like she was in her late 50s, overweight still, and now resorting to relying on a pharmaceutical drug to control her cholesterol. This is what they sell you. They sell you fear. They sell you comfort. They sell you complacency. They sell you on the idea that, look at this woman, she did it 11 times, and yet here's where she is. This is where you need to be. Just take the pill. But we know for a fact that doesn't have to be the case if you dedicate yourself to change. We have countless amount of people here on the live right now that dedicated themselves to change a couple of years ago. You know, I see Will, I see Sabrina, you know, I see people who are newly joining the idea of change, like Jocelyn. It can be done. But it's going to take you. It's going to take you taking action and being consistent and working a plan. All right? So ask yourself, is the next half of this year going to be different than the first half? Because if it's going to be different, that means that you have to take action, consistent action in your best interest. You're going to have to invest in your health. You're going to have to take it seriously. You're going to stop looking for the quick fix. Stop trying to rush the process. Understand that it is a process. Success takes time. Transformation takes time. Results take time. And anybody that's promising you that they're going to speed it up and give you everything you want in 60 days is usually lying to you. Because you and I both know it didn't take you 60 days to get to where you are. Now, granted, it probably won't take you 10 years to get to where you want to be, but it's going to take you time. It's going to take you a good year, year and a half. And depending on how far you have to go, maybe 2. But the beautiful thing about it is that if you start today, you won't be in this same position 6 months from now. Like we looked at Dave yesterday. Dave was 274 just a couple of months ago, maybe. I think at like March or April. It's now 250. Why? Because he's working a plan. He's going about it systematically. He's not running himself in the dirt. He's going according to a plan. The question is, what are you going to do? Everybody wants to have a summer body. Well, the summer body that you're going to have in 2023, you're going to start working on that now. But it's bigger than summer bodies. It's about self-confidence. We always talk about, last week or the week before, we were talking about worth. Aren't you worth it? Aren't you worth a better quality of life? Aren't you worth investing in yourself so that you feel good about yourself? Aren't you worth putting your best foot forward? Well, the only way to do that is to take action. Action transforms. Action changes things. Inaction keeps you right there. Inaction feeds your failure, feeds your fear, feeds your complacency. The longer you stay inactive, the harder it is to become active. But the moment you start to take action, action creates momentum. Momentum leads to excitement. Excitement, momentum, and action will lead to change. Change leads to confidence. Change, action, momentum, all those things lead to what? Success. But action starts it. I wish I could tell you something more fancy. All right? I wish I could tell you, hey, yo, just take this pill. I wish I could tell you, just believe. Your beliefs don't mean anything if you don't do anything about it. And it doesn't matter what you say. You can tell yourself, I think I'm great. But you know if you're performing less than what you really know you can, less than really what you want to be, less than what you know you're capable of. That's another thing. You know you're capable of better because you've seen better from yourself. Some of the hardest people to work with are the people who haven't seen themselves in a better position. Okay, I've worked with people like that they've been overweight their whole life. You know, they've never had a certain level of fitness or health. And sometimes getting them to see the vision of them being in a better place is a little bit more difficult. But for a lot of you, you know better. You were in a better place 20 years ago when you were in your 20s or period, or you can envision yourself in a better place. And when you don't do it, that's hard. And it's hard on you. Well, like I said, the only thing that changes that is what? Action. Action transforms. Period. Hopefully today is the day that you start to take that action. Once again, we're only a few days left from the middle part of the year. Okay? And how many people can attest to how fast this last 6 months went? Because it seems like it was just the other day I was watching fireworks on New Year's Eve. Literally. It literally seems like it was just the other day. And now it's 6 months ago. And in another 6 months, which will be a blink of an eye, you'll be preparing for New Year's Eve again. And the only thing that will be different is, what did you do over the last 6 months? Did you invest in yourself? Did you make any changes? Are you any better? Or are you going to go into 2023 with the same remixed BS of what you're going to do, what you wish you could do, what you wish you could have, what you could have done? Because those are some of the worst things, when you say, I could have, I wish I would have. I wonder what would have happened had I. Every time you hear or see a transformation story, you know that that story could have been you. If you only took action. If you only stuck to it. But then what happens to some people? They start to live in denial. Well, you know, things are different for them, and it's different for, I don't have, and you start to convince yourself, and you start to sell yourself your own special brand of bullshit. And a lot of you buy it. Some people buy their bullshit so well that they try to sell it to others. I always love it when people I work with try to sell me on their BS. And I always have to remind them, I don't buy that. That's what accountability does. Accountability makes you stop trying to sell your BS, especially when the person you're accountable to is not buying it. Especially then when you stop buying your own BS and you hold yourself to a certain level, a certain standard. You know? What promises did you make yourself? Have you held them? I always ask you that question, you know, going into the next 6 months, look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this the best I got? Is this the best I got? Is this the best that I can do? And if it's not the best, then take action. Because that action will transform.